Hi, my name is Dan Brownell. I'm a senior underwriting consultant at Munich Re, and today I'm going to talk about financial ratios, or more specifically, I'll cover some financial leverage ratios, otherwise known as debt ratios. The ratios I'll cover can be applied to both the public and private sectors, and for the most part, they're basic and easy to calculate. Debt, or financial leverage ratios, can help you determine the ability of a company to meet its financial obligations, and so the likely financial health of a company. They also give you an idea as to the mix of debt and equity a company is using. These are all important factors to consider to determine the health of a company or business when financially underwriting a case. Debt ratios usually compare the debts of a company to its assets. Common examples, as we'll cover today, include debt ratio, debt to equity ratio, and capitalization ratio. Generally, the greater the debt of a company, the greater the financial risk. However, the ratios should not be used in isolation. To gain the most insight into the financial health of a company, you should take into account the type and size of the business you're underwriting. Some measure of trend analysis and industry analysis is also usually needed. First, we'll start with debt ratio. The debt ratio compares a company's total liabilities or debt to its total assets. In so doing, it shows how much a business relies on debt to finance assets. In general, the higher the ratio, the more risk the company is viewed to have taken on. A lower percentage indicates conservative financing with less dependence on leverage and a stronger equity position. However, you will also need to consider the type or size of the company. Certain industries and large established businesses have more leeway to push their liability up without significant consequence. Debt to equity ratio is similar to the debt ratio. It involves the relationship between total liabilities or debt and stockholders' equity. It tells you the proportion of a company's assets supplied by the company's creditors versus the amount supplied by the owners or stockholders. There are different variations of debt to equity ratios, but the objective is to determine how a business has been financing its growth. A high or increasing ratio means the company has been growing due to debt. However, as with debt ratio, this ratio can be industry specific. While for most companies a maximum acceptable debt to equity ratio is 1.5 to 2 or less, larger public companies may be much more than 2. Not all debt is bad, but if it's very high, you should keep in mind that the debt plus interest has to eventually be paid. The capitalization ratio measures the debt component of a company's capital structure or capitalization, which is the sum of long-term debt liabilities and shareholders' equity. It's calculated by dividing long-term debt by the sum of total shareholders' equity plus long-term debt. This ratio indicates the extent to which a company is using its equity to support its operations and growth. Low debt and high equity levels are commonly viewed as financially healthy, and a higher capitalization ratio can be considered risky. But higher financial leverage or debt, if used prudently, can also potentially fuel an increase of return on shareholders' investments. Thank you for your time. We hope this brief review of debt ratios will help you in your evaluation and underwriting of business cases.